Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which came to us before Christmas 2020. I'm reviewing it in January 2021 during the pandemic. I'm trying to shift some of these books at the moment during a quiet time. This book is called Articles of Association with the subtitle Guidance and Precedents, and it's been written by Richard Bishop. It comes to us from Bloomsbury Professional Law. It's a hardback book, and I thought it was very good. I specialised for the LLB in what was then called company law, and certainly articles were of great interest. The legislation I dealt with, of course, was prior to the new Companies Act, but I think it's an excellent book. So I've basically given it a title, a welcome addition to your company law library. Now let's have a little look at the book first of all. It's only a short review, this one. It's a hardback book. You can see there the spine, and then perhaps you can see the back of it there. Now the back of the book has a reasonably good index, and it's actually again by paragraph numbering. One of the secrets with company law is you've got to know the legislation. You've also got to know your way around the index, because quite often the difficulty with the subject matter is that it's can be a bit sort of technical, and therefore you've got different phrases to look at. All references are to paragraph numbers, which give you some indication, of where you are. There is actually an appendix at the back, and that appendix is again a whole series of appendices. That is Appendix I. It's a little bit confusing because obviously it's not done in numeric, but it's done in alphabetic, and there are quite a large number of appendices. In fact, when you look at it, Appendix A starts there. That's on page 401. The total size of the book is nearly 600 pages. So you can see out of the entirety of the book, that's the main text there. Then you've got the appendices, and there are quite a large number of them. Obviously starting with model articles, which again you will, I'm sure, be familiar with if you know a reasonable amount about company law itself. There's a lot of tabulation, which is quite useful, as you can see throughout. You've also got some useful blocked parts of the text. You can see the paragraph numbering throughout, and then you can see right at the front of the book, if we go to the front, there's the front page itself, and then you can see there are downloadable precedents which you get with the book. Obviously in this day and age the computer systems are rather different. Quite a lot of the new computers do not have a facility for a disk, so this can be downloaded, and there is actually a password which you get with the book, which I think is quite helpful. Then there's detail about it's available as a basic publication and as an e-book as well. Then you've got a license agreement to go with the using the precedents, and then you've also got a contents section which sets out where we are with the subject matter. Total number of chapters 8. And as I say, you've got 9 actual appendices, and in fact what you've got in addition to that are 4 sets of precedents before the appendices. So the first part of the book runs to under 200 pages. Then you've got the table of statutes, then table of statutory instruments, then the table of cases. So it's the reverse of some, where the table of cases comes last, because there are quite a large number of cases. Then you get the body copy of the book itself, an introduction to the subject, and you've got the footnoting at the bottom. As I say, with this particular work, there is no preface as such. And I think the work itself tries to get straight to the subject, because the introduction says the development of modern company law and the ability for ordinary people to incorporate a company was driven by the Industrial Revolution. And this started in the 19th century, of course, and has worked all the way through. So it gives you a little bit of history. Then it talks about how other companies what are the company's articles, and it sets out where we've been. Now, because I did my law degree some many years ago now, company law has changed a great deal in that time. Obviously the director's powers and duties, which are covered here in a general sense, are very helpful. I think anybody who's doing a law degree will find this book quite helpful to start off with. And then of course you've got quite a lot of blocked areas, which I did find extremely helpful, looking specifically at Table A regulations, which are set out. Table A, of course, I'm assuming people know Table A is the basis of the model articles. I say that because I'm assuming you have some knowledge, but you can see that they run through with the different articles all the way through. And that's really the theme of the book. Like many of the books on articles of association, it's structured in that way to look specifically at the model articles. Then you can cut and so decide what you actually want to do with the information you've got. Because Mr. Bishop obviously is extremely well known to many people. He's actually been involved in financial services, it says, for 20 years. And he's actually taught the company law degree, that would be the LLB, or equivalent, depending on what degree you're getting, at Coventry and Wolverhampton universities. And of course he's also written about the subject. So he's very experienced, and we're very grateful to have it. So finally, what do I really say in short terms about the book? Because you probably want to know what's in it. We actually think it's an excellent book, because nearly 4 million companies, and this is based on what the main blurb is for the book, 4 million companies are incorporated in the UK and allow their constitution or company rule book to be dictated by the standard articles of association. Those, of course, are contained in the statute. It's designed to aid, so this book is designed specifically to aid professional advisors, directors and shareholders to make better decisions about any company's constitution. And it gives you the following information, which I should give you as a précis from what's actually in the book. That is the background to the Articles of Association, that's the history. Then the Company Law Act itself, the new one. This is the huge piece of legislation from 2006. The business structures and their needs. Then it goes on to review current case law, and actually this subject has a lot of case law in it, and the implications for amending the Articles of Association. And again, remember, on the history of company law, that used to throw up rather a lot of very interesting cases in the past. You've also got a detailed analysis of the default Articles of Association, which are prescribed in the company's Model Articles Regulations 2008 Table A. So this is the detail you're getting, depending on what you're advising on. And then a guide to drafting Articles of Association. Remember, you've got the precedents, you can link it into the internet and so forth. You've got real-life examples given and discussions on why companies should adapt Table A to suit specific company requirements. And I think that's a sensible way forward, because Table A, I'm thinking back now probably 3 or 4 decades as to the way in which, from say 1949, with that legislation after the Second World War, I'm looking really at how things have changed so much with the major pieces of legislation since. And I think today with computers we've got a much more sensible way of trying to do things. And of course you've got people who've got a lot more understanding of corporate governance than they did before. So to sum it up then, solicitors and accountants, I think we would have the tools to be able to advise confidently to clients on how an article of association, or the articles of the association, impact on the company, with some expertise, sensible, they call it clever drafting, but it's thoughtful drafting about how the constitution of a company can be set up and amended, and that it will give and offer clear provisions to suit its strategic position. And I say that on the basis of some of the older case law, where you start off with one company doing one type of activity, and then the way business goes, it's going to change anyway. So I'm just thinking of a case some may know called reintroductions, which meant that you change very much the nature of the business of the company. Let me say finally then that for those who may wish to consider changing the constitution of their own company, this book will be helpful because it gives you a lot of practical examples together with do's and don'ts and illustrations throughout. There are the box sections which I think are very helpful, and you also get full procedures for trustees, for family investment and for property companies who are basically being given a provision for guidelines for the role of minority shareholders, investors and directors. Obviously there are specialist books to deal with minority shareholders, with investors and with directors, but this book is trying to give an overview from the perspective of the articles themselves. The date of publication is cited as at the 5th of October 2020, and I'm recording this at the beginning of 2021 because of the problems with the pandemic. Let me just open the book in the middle. Here we go. This is Chapter 8, Analysis of the Model Articles for Public Companies. So these are the bigger companies. You can see the structure then, the paragraph numbering. You've got boxed sections with examples of relevant articles within the article, numbered. So it's Article 81 here, Article 82, and it gives an analysis. So that will give you an idea of what you might wish to have in or not in your particular articles, and it runs through along that way. It's not top heavy on case law, which I think is quite helpful. Obviously what we do today is a creature of statutes, so you've got the basis of the legislation and the regulations right at the beginning. There's only a small bit on statutes and then the statutory instruments. Then, as I say, you've got a relatively small bit concerning the latest case law, which is not particularly heavy, which I think will be helpful because when I was certainly studying this as an undergraduate, there was a lot of case law at that time, and things have, I think, although it's more statute orientated today, it has become a bit easier. I'd like to thank Richard Bishop very much indeed, and Bloomsbury, for producing an excellent book. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.